If you so much as whisper Harry in his presence, he'll throw you out of the room. That's the line doing the rounds in palace circles, and it lands like a gavel. After a 55-minute father-son tea at Clarence House rekindled hopes of a Windsor thaw, insiders say Prince William has snapped back into hardline mode, more determined than ever to cut his brother out of his life. Stay with me, because there's a twist. The king may be more irritated with his heir than with the spare, and Harry's year-long return plan just scored a quiet win Charles might actually find useful. Start with the optics war you weren't meant to see. Harry lands in London for a compact, charity-first schedule and keeps his powder dry. No flurry of briefings, no sofa confessions, just warmth and crowd work the way he used to do it. Quick wit, locked-in eye contact, names remembered. Then comes the curveball, a private tea at Clarence House, the first face-to-face with his father since early 2024. Cameras catch the arrival, microphones catch just 5 words on the way out. He is great, thank you. No leaks. No digs. For a family obsessed with discretion, that's the only currency that counts. And yet, rather than thaw, the air around Kensington ice is over. According to well-placed sources quoted in the British press, William's patience flipped back to fury. For months he'd apparently reached the healthiest place you can get to with a warring sibling, indifference. Harry was a non-person, 5,000 miles away, safely compartmentalized. Then in one London week he was back in the UK, back in the headlines, back through the gates of Clarence House, and back in the subject line of palace emails. Old wounds don't heal well under flashbulbs. Watch how the chess pieces moved. Catherine's last-minute decision to join William at a Women's Institute engagement in Berkshire looked like a smart counter-programming play, put the Princess of Wales on the front pages with a warm, local moment heavy on continuity and community. Harry answered with a headline-friendly pledge, £1.1 million for children in need, the kind of number that cuts through the noise even if it risks looking a touch crass to courtiers. Result: dueling narratives in a single news cycle, both of them effective. Now layer in the father-son dynamic, where the ground is shifting. Reports suggest King Charles has grown more irritated with William than with Harry, not over principles, but productivity. Despite undergoing cancer treatment, the king has racked up a heavy slate of engagements over the past year, while William's tally has looked comparatively light, punctuated by family time and breaks that, however prudent privately, inevitably read badly on a public ledger. Cue a 4-day sprint from the Waleses last week, efficient, photogenic, and, yes, conspicuously timed. Here's the quiet genius of Harry's long game. A year ago, murmurs began about Operation Bring Harry Back In from the cold, not to the balcony, not to the rota, but to credibility. The strategy? Drop the Hollywood gloss, rebuild a traditional team with military steel, reconnect with legacy charities, including the smaller ones that rarely get star wattage, and keep channels to the King's office open without spraying the details. According to multiple reports, his UK advisors even synced diaries with the palace so that Wednesday's London base would dovetail with the King's medical schedule, and then they played dumb in public so nothing could be accused of theatre. That's not bomb throwing. That's discipline. William's response, per insiders, is to slam every door he can reach. If the future king is back to ejecting anyone who even mentions his brother's name, it's because he reads Harry's maneuvers for what they are: patient, incremental, and dangerously plausible. A repaired bond with Charles. A clean, leak-free tea. Charity work that lands. Advisors who speak palace, not platform. And a 2-year runway toward 2027, when Invictus comes to Birmingham and the world's cameras will be desperate to catch a family tableau Harry would love to stage, father, heir, and spare on the same row, even if only for an hour. Will it happen? Not if William has anything to say about it. Sources insist the Prince of Wales is doubling down, and the phrase matters. This isn't sulking. It's policy. From his perspective, Harry's 12-month strategy didn't just succeed with the king, it succeeded at William's expense. Every time Harry proves he can operate with quiet professionalism, he chips at the narrative that the palace's hard all-in or all-out line was necessary. Every time a crowd laughs with him, it reminds Britain what it lost when the Sussexes left. That's infuriating if your job is to be the future and someone else keeps stealing the present. There's also emotional shrapnel here no briefing can tidy. The brothers' relationship didn't rupture in a single interview, it bled out over years. Rows, leaks, memoir pages, that infamous Nottingham cottage scuffle Harry wrote about in excruciating detail. Insiders say William ran the full cycle: shock, grief, tears, fury, and finally the blessed numbness of moving on. Then in walks London Harry, perfectly calibrated, re-earning goodwill, and pulling focus without firing a shot. Imagine watching that land across a week when your own numbers are under review. The king, though, plays a longer, colder game. He doesn't need a balcony reconciliation, he needs a monarchy that looks useful. A son who can fill rooms for veterans, bereaved military families, and underfunded children's orgs is not a problem, provided he doesn't breach the one condition Charles and every palace advisor will set: keep family talks private. On that point, Harry has finally learned the lesson. The Clarence House tea stayed sealed. When asked, he gave the blandest sentence in the language and moved on. Trust is a water clock, it fills one drop at a time. What about Meghan? Reports suggest she doesn't care about the UK optics the way Harry does, and his security fight makes family travel unlikely for now. That actually helps his pitch. Short, solo UK sprints under his own steam and protection, back to California for the life he chose. No hostage photos. No balcony bait. It's a model the institution can live with precisely because it doesn't demand anything from it except tolerance. Still, expect turbulence. William cannot step into Kiev or other high-risk zones the way Harry can, and that asymmetry will always make comparisons unfair. Nor will the Prince of Wales accept any public endorsement that looks like paving Harry's path back when his own house is still rebuilding after a year of health scares and reduced schedules. The king could, at some point, offer a carefully worded plea for kindness and unity that implicitly includes his younger son, a softer echo of the late Queen's blessing for Camilla, but don't bank on anything that binds William's hands. The most telling micro-moment from this past week wasn't the tea, or even the check. It was the silence that followed. No friendly sources close to filling column inches with color from the room. No counterbriefs from Harry's camp sniping at William's diary. Just a deliberate absence of noise that allowed the strongest narrative to breathe, the work itself. If Harry keeps that up, one quiet reunion, one visible act of service, repeat, the public will do the rest. They won't put him back on the palace balcony. They will, however, put him back in their good graces. That's the part William can't control. Here's the cliff edge everyone's towing. If Harry keeps his discipline, Charles keeps the door ajar, and William keeps to statesmanlike big-picture projects with Catherine early years, Earthshot, bread-and-butter regional visits that reset his numbers, the Windsors can run parallel tracks without a collision. If any one of those falters, a leak from Team Sussex, a public flare from William, a misread from the king, we're back to winter. Until then, the new rule is brutally simple. Say nothing about the tea. Say everything through service. And if you mention Harry to William, be ready to pick yourself up off the carpet. Tell me in the comments, should the palace formalize short, independent service trips for non-heirs, or does that break the crown's spell? If you read this far, drop doubling down so I know you're one of the real ones.